I have a confession. I'm so awfully old school. I listen to cassette tapes in my car still. I don't have e-readers. I don't have an iPod. So when we were talking initially about this evening, and Kevin and Annie and Rita and I, the discussion, of course, went to e-readers at some point. And wouldn't it be great if we had like some electronic something? And I had a hard. I don't have a Kindle. I don't even know about anything. So I thought, in concept, I sort of understood, okay, maybe, but I had a little attitude about it, which I didn't really say. And then suddenly, as you can see tonight, all these interweavings and all this stuff was happening, and what did we get? I got an audio file from a man who is writing ebooks. And not just an ordinary little, I don't know what I want to say even. It grabbed me from the very minute, and I can sum up best how I felt with one of the postcard entries from tonight. This was unsigned, so I don't know who it came from, but the quote was, "I think a great book is one that makes me wonder what the characters are doing when I'm not actually reading it. I miss them." There's a character that I'm so excited for you to meet tonight that is in this audio file. So we're not actually having somebody read. We're going to listen together in that leisure space and time. We're going to listen together to a recording that is of an ebook written by Bruce Steinberg. Bruce has been represented by notable literary agents, but did not become a best-selling author to any extent for his Kirkus-Star-reviewed mystery novel, River Ghosts, until he struck out on his own using ebook format. River Ghosts was a hot top 3 mystery novel on Amazon.com for its first month as an ebook, and an Amazon.com top 100 mystery novel for over 2 months. River Ghosts is currently under construction as an audiobook, part of which you'll hear tonight, by Emmy-winning writer, actor, and Chicagoland native Craig Joe Harris, who has a voice, oh my goodness, recorded at Cerny American Studios in Chicago. His first novel, The Widow's Son, a literary fiction novel, won the first Novel Fest 2000 writing competition, and as an ebook is in Amazon's top 3 in customer review rankings in parenting, emotion, and feeling subgroups. My Occasional Torment, his third book, is a woman's fiction novel and is also a stage play set for its second production in this October. Bruce, where are you? Bruce, I'd like you to come up and let people look at you since you won't be reading.
On the second floor was a fitness center. That was back when I moved out here in 1987. I've never been back here since. This is my first experience, and Frank Rutledge has been pushing me to attend. And I have to say what a wonderful environment this is for the writers, and we all appreciate it. And since I'm the last presenter, I want to thank everyone here associated with Waterline and give you all a round of applause for everything you've done for us as writers. Being an invited reader and I don't get to read, I don't even get to push the button that starts and Kevin's going to do that. And I want to thank Kevin and Laura and the character that Laura's in love with. I've had 2 emails where people threatened me if I killed her off, they're going to hunt me down.
And I must be feared, so just add me to
the journey, I guess I represent ebooks and audiobooks and the newer technologies, although audiobooks have been around for a while. Now you don't even need cassettes or DVDs. You get them on your smartphones and your apps and your new cars. But the journey to having an audiobook made by someone like Craig Joe Harris was interesting. And it all began in a men's room bathroom at the Elgin movie theater, where I was washing my hands, because I always wash my hands. A man comes out, looked very sophisticated, from a stall, mind you, did not wash his hands. And I went to sit next to my wife in the theater, and I told her about it, and we both went, ew. My wife said, what if he's sharing popcorn with a date? And so I wrote a book about it, and that became My Occasional Torment. And a friend of mine invited, I didn't know this, Craig Joe Harris, to come see the play, which was at a Naperville theater. And he was working on the Jackie Wilson story. My friend lives in a house that was on the Underground Railroad, that he was doing a story associated with that. And this man shows up, and after the play comes backstage. He enjoyed the play, and he wanted to know what else I got, and I told him, and he got a copy of River Ghosts. Then a couple months later, he leaves a message on my voicemail that I wish didn't time out because I'd like to preserve it forever, and he wants to do the audiobook. So it was a simple story, right? Anyone can fall into that. Craig, well, you'll hear Craig's voice. I think he can really rattle a desert almost like Ghana. But I want to thank, again, Waterline and everyone here, and Rick Hollinger for leading us through the St. Charles Writers Group for the last 12 years for me, 15 altogether. So, and it's a pleasure being in a company of writers. And with that, I'm just going to stand over there. Kevin, you push the button. Thank you.
Auntie Doria makes my dinner tonight. She does almost every night. It's one of those facts of nature, she says, standing large at her stove. Most men can't cook, or pretend they can't cook. Can't clean much either, so they get married. She looks back over her shoulder at me, the skin under her eyes nearly black, shining like worn leather through her glasses. Black frame, thick-lensed, her glasses became relics long ago. She engages in casual battle with them, swiping one hand, then the other to the bridge, lifting. Gravity takes a few seconds to return her glasses to the tip of her nose. Her deep brown face reminds me of my father's. Except on her, the familiar features appear exaggerated and blown out at the cheeks and chin, and all of it sits on her neck, quivering from the edge of her jaw into a pedestal of gelatin squeezed below the top button of her shirt. My father's features weren't meant to live prettily on a fat woman's face. Never married, Auntie Doria quickly became one of those women who long ago stopped caring whether she looked like a woman. She cares for her devotion to her religious faith, and for me. Always has. When she flashes her big teeth at me, I tell myself I love her, how sweet she is. Her look is the way she is, a fact of her existence. To me, she's beautiful. When she swipes at her glasses again, keeps her smile aimed my way, I know, sometime soon, I should say I love her out loud. She pats her big hands over the front of her skirt. Except for my Richie, she says and laughs. You can't cook or you don't want to, and you're not going to get married, so you come to your Auntie Doria's home for good food. I look away from her face to the cabinets, then to the floor. Everything looks worn, wood veneers scraped away by Auntie Doria's hands. A path eroded into the linoleum around the table and stove by her heavy, dragging feet. The doors to this house, as well as the sliding door to the patio in the back, are guarded by empty soda bottles, lined like military men at the threshold. It's something she's been doing since I first came here after Mama's and Papa's murders, and continues on as her own habit. Several more bottles, these filled with layers of colored salt, sit on windowsills, projects I made as a boy, which Auntie put to good use. Entering and leaving Auntie Doria's house takes some time for glass soldiers to retreat, then retake the perimeter. I'm getting married someday. Auntie Doria smiles at me. Soon? Any lady I know? I tell her what I've told her before. There's no woman right now. A man? I could learn to understand if it was a man. Auntie Doria turns back to her stove, flipping chicken breasts in a pan, letting smoke billow into her face. But having no one at all isn't natural. No. She glances at one of her dozens or so photographs of Denzel Washington taped all over her home. It's a contest between Denzel and a Holy Crucifix in terms of number and attention. This particular photo she cut out from People magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People edition and keeps posted on the refrigerator with 2 cross-shaped magnets. The paper curls as though Denzel struggles to pull himself off the refrigerator and escape from Auntie Doria. Lifting her glasses again, she smiles at Denzel's picture in a girlish way that embarrasses me. "If you know you're not acting natural," she says with a sigh, "then I guess there's some hope for you." "You should let me buy you new glasses." "There's nothing wrong with these glasses." She sweeps up her hand and raises her chin to keep the glasses from sliding back down. A silly pose, as if frozen in the instant before letting loose a momentous sneeze. I can't bring myself to tell her about her habit with her glasses. I never have. "Maybe you should have laser eye surgery." "Who's going to pay for it?" "I might." Auntie Doria frowns at the chicken frying in the pan on her stove. I believe I hear her glasses thump to the tip of her nose. "My mama, rest her soul, bought me these frames and they don't need replacing. Just the lenses now and then." "Wouldn't you like to see 20/20 the moment you open your eyes in the morning?" "Honey, it's hard enough seeing my kisser in the evening. Do you have any idea what I look like in the morning these days?" "Auntie Doria," I start to say, but she faces me quickly and let her glasses hang below her eyes. "You get me laser eye surgery under one condition, honey. Talk to the doctor and tell him I don't care about seeing 20/20 when I open my eyes in the morning. Get it so that laser makes me wake up in the morning and see the Lord Jesus out one eye and Denzel in my bed out the other. Mm-hmm." She breathes as though in expectation and repeats, "Denzel. You get the eye doctor to make it so I see like that, and I'll be the happiest woman on earth. I'll sing the doctor's praises to Jesus. I'd never get out of my bed. I'll give the eye doctor every last damn penny I own." This time the lift of her glasses looks as though she's punched herself in the face. "You arrange it for me, and I'll throw away my glasses forever." She places a chicken breast on a plate with steamed carrots and a baked potato and slides it to me on the kitchen table. "This whole thing's about you anyway, child," she says, sitting beside me with her own plate. "I can see Denzel in my mind's eye whenever I want to. What I want to know is, who are you looking at these days?" I start to eat, and it takes a long time before I talk. When I do, Auntie Doria knows I'm answering her question. Nobody. Mm-hmm. There's no woman yet. But it would be a woman if it were anybody. Yes. Auntie Doria takes a bite of her chicken and sighs. "It's not like I wouldn't accept things if you came home with a man." We eat together in silence, staring at our food, catching glimpses of each other. Her hand holding the fork, swipes at her glasses, and I wonder what habit of mine she sees, something she won't tell me about. I suppose it's what I already know. It's what crawls beneath my skin. It's what would frighten her, like it does most people, except for Jack Harder. Somewhere along the line, making an ass of himself trying to prove he's for the black man's cause, Jack became a friend. As much of a friend as I will allow. Auntie Doria accepts my habits in silence out of love. I suppose then, when she swipes at her glasses twice more while chewing her last bite of chicken, and I say nothing about it, she understands my devotion to her. We sit with the coffee and sweet cake she's made. I ask her, "Have my grandma and grandpa ever talked to you?" "Honey, you know my parents died a while back. What foolish thing are you asking me?" "Mama's parents." "Oh." The flesh over Auntie Doria's face seems to disconnect, hangs loose from her bones. "Why are you asking me this now?" "Something I thought about at the cemetery this morning." She studies me, doubts my motivation. "You certain you want to know? Doesn't seem to be any reason to discuss it after all these years." She sighs at my stillness, punches her glasses up. "I never met them, never talked to them. Your mama said she preferred it this way if they weren't going to accept your papa." Over Auntie Doria's shoulder, on a mantel above a small fireplace, a photo stands nearly lost among figurines of Jesus and Mother Mary. Mama and Papa at their flower shop, standing before the storefront with a bouquet of red roses their first morning in business. He left his job as a chemical engineer. She, her job as an English teacher, to open their shop together. They bought the shop where a white neighborhood and our black neighborhood come together. Separated is more accurate, by a divide of traffic moving down a 4-lane road. They figured to draw from both sides only the best, most thoughtful people who would most likely buy lots of flowers, and named the shop Naivete. It's odd to think now that a shop named Naivete sustained Mama and Papa, filled their modest home with books and old movies. In the picture, Papa wraps his left arm around Mama's waist, his hand strung below Mama's left breast, and Mama smiles like she doesn't mind, her hand under his, perhaps guiding his hand to hold her there. Auntie Doria knows what I'm looking at and glances over her shoulder a bit to look at the photograph, too. It's her shop now. Has been since she quit her job as a secretary and took over soon after their murders. Naivete sustains her, though less so than it did Mama and Papa, because of the flowers she gives away to her church. Yo Mama's parents never came to the wedding, as far as I know. They're dead or might as well be. How did Mama and Papa meet? How many questions like this you going to ask me tonight? Auntie, I say, and I fall into her at the table, my eyes shut. The words I need to speak pour from my mouth like something vile. They let Henry Clayton out of prison. They say he didn't murder Mama and Papa. Now I know, after telling Auntie Doria, monsters inside me have found their way out through my pores, with my sweat and tears. Their smoke orbits about this kitchen like comets, and they dive their fiery heads at me, brush their whip-like tails against my body with their whispered laughter, low and angry. They first came to me the night after my parents' murders, when I was supposed to go to sleep. How does a boy find sleep after witnessing his parents' murders? While other children live their days seeing the world in front of them, I remain swallowed inside a moment. The images of Henry Clayton and what he did to Mama and Papa. Then at night, these images melted into distortions and swirled about my bedroom. On my 16th birthday, Auntie Doria ran her fingers over a small mustache on my upper lip, emphasized how she had to look up a bit to look me in the eye, and declared I had grown into a man. In the evening, I wrapped a piece of birthday cake in a paper towel. As a present to myself, I figured out how to shut the images down by convincing myself monsters weren't real, by forcing my memories of my parents' lives into an artificial past, by pretending to forget the unforgettable. Rather than drive the monsters away, they took refuge inside me and reminded me of their presence with their hot touches beneath the surface of my skin. I threw the cake wrapped in paper in the trash, an offering to the truce I had made with my memories at a time in my life when I believed closure was possible. Tonight, Auntie Doria holds me the way she did when I was a child screaming at my nightmare in her home. This time, though, she doesn't coo at me, and she doesn't recite nursery rhymes. When I explain why Henry Clayton was let go, she doesn't tell me everything will be all right. Her body feels like a blanket wrapped around mine, and she lets my tears fall over her. Weariness overtakes me. Swirls of smoke begin to fade. With her soft tone, Auntie Doria makes it clear how much she loves me. She doesn't say the words. She doesn't say the things she once did when I was a boy unable to sleep at night because of monsters. You need to find things out, Auntie Doria says. It's what you need to do. Hearing such advice from Jack Harder is one thing. From my auntie, quite another. If such different people agree, then my purpose should be clear. Auntie Doria invites me to stay overnight in my old room, and when she turns from the door, I ask her, when I was born, did Mama's parents call then? You're suffering enough, child. Why are you doing this? So I know, Auntie. Things I should have asked before they died. Still, I'd like to know, now. No, Richie, child. When you were born, it was the same as before. They never called. Thank you, Auntie. She smiles weakly, overtaken by sadness. Before she closes the door, she says, Your mama saw your papa in a park and fell in love with him right then and there. One back scratch from your mama, and your papa did the same. That's how they met. Simple as can be. When I lie in bed, rather than search for things I kept here as a boy, I search for a peace in the darkness. I find it in the thought of the holes in my life, answers to questions every child should have without a second thought. Instead, fundamental pieces are missing, substantial gaps, as if I had been built like a house on an incomplete foundation. Such thoughts should disturb me and would keep any other man awake through the night. They work to distract me, causing my nightmare monsters to exist outside of me rather than within. Tonight, in Auntie Doria's home, I feel as though I'm in her embrace, an embrace that embodies everything I am, or at least everything of me that remains. She provides the peace I need to fall asleep.